And welcome to part 2 of the True Patriot podcast here for December. Oh man, super excited. We've got our interview with Justin Fox coming up here in just a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and air that. We had an awesome conversation. He was generous enough to take time out of his busy day and stop by here, man, and talk with us about some general ice safety tips. Just good stuff. It's kind of cool to hear from the other side, you know what I mean? Not just the ice fishermen, fisher people that are out there, but actually hearing from the individuals that take care of us should something come up where we need them. So that's pretty cool. We're super thankful for him taking his time and doing that. Before we get going too much further, 2 pieces of business we got to cover. First piece of business, during this, my nonprofit pieces there and the news, there was something that took place in December that I absolutely needed to mention as news. And what that was is at the beginning of the month, towards the end of November range, SCHEELS out of Johnstown, Colorado, put together a contribution campaign, something they do every year. And what they do is they reach out to all of the communities that they have contact with, and they look for nominations. What they're looking for is nominations of nonprofit organizations that service the Front Range, specifically here in northern Colorado, and that provide needed services out there. They're looking to seed. So what they try to do is get nominations from the people out there. They put together a big campaign through social media, through in-store, so on and so forth. And folks, check this out. This is the thing. It's one thing to be a major retailer, right? It's one thing to be, a leader in your industry. SCHEELS is both of those things. They're national. They cover, their markets. But it's another thing to also use certain phrases as taglines or as maybe just good marketing, and that is, supporting the community, things of this nature. Let me tell you something first and foremost. SCHEELS is the definition of what you hope bigger companies would be and do in your local community. Not only do they offer, an amazing line of product like that, so they have a lot of the features of the big store, right? The big box stores. But dude, they are so embedded with the community and things that you're not even aware of. The amount of monetary donations, the amount of support they give, the way they reach out into the local communities. Well, let me tell you something. This contribution campaign was no different, man. These guys went out there and got nominations for 20 nonprofits in the area and donated $5,000 to each one of them based on nominations that came through. That's 100 G's, folks. I mean, we're not talking about just a generalized, good faith act of some kind here. These guys, and this is just one of many things they do with nonprofits and community service initiatives throughout their communities that they serve in. They don't just do it in Johnstown, they do it everywhere they're at. It may sound self-serving, as we are obviously looking to work with them on a higher level where we can, but this was absolutely something you need to pay attention to. When you're looking for those companies that want to take care of the local communities, look for the ones that actually do it, man. They put the boots on the ground, they get out there, they do the work. And in one way or another, there's many ways we can all help. We can give time, we can give money, we can help spread the word on certain these things. SCHEELS does it all, man. They are back behind this thing 100%. So we wanted to make sure and give a shout out to them. Much love to SCHEELS, Johnstown, Colorado, and the entire staff up there, all the work they do. If you've been following our social media, you've been seeing some of the pictures we posted up there. We had a chance to go up there with the bonfire, with the ranch, watch them get their checks, because I am happy to announce that you folks out there in the GC Fishing Army land did your part, and you helped get both of those companies nominated and get them into position to get their donation to this. So awesome stuff. But SCHEELS, thank you very much for all you guys do out there, and for all the staff at SCHEELS. You guys are the best, and you're working for an awesome company. So that's one of the pieces of news we wanted to make sure of in there, and that was my fault for not putting that in the news section in part 1. Part 2, lessons learned, quite frankly. Some scheduling conflicts jumped in the way. We will not have the interview with Christine Fisher. We will not have that for this month here. to be announced on, to be determined on when we get a chance to get that done in there. We're hoping that we can put this together, but you know what? I counted my chickens before they hatched, let's say. Just scheduling just got what we were scheduled. We were going to try to get something done earlier this week. That just didn't pan out, didn't work. So we'll try to get something done when we can, and then we'll have around here and see what we can see. So, any rate, we do have for this edition here, we have an awesome interview with Justin Fox. It is coming up right now. So stick with this, pay attention, watch this guy. I'm telling you, it's some awesome information with ice season on us now, ice fishing going. Dude, stay mentally prepared for this kind of stuff. That way, these things just stay in the category of awesome, memorable fishing trips and don't get into the other categories out there. So hope you guys like this and stick with us. We'll be back after this interview here. Enjoy. All right, folks, and welcome to our interview with, as promised, Mr. Justin Fox of Dive Rescue International. Now, in the spirit of full disclosure, Mr. Fox and I, actually a lifetime ago, actually served together on the Larimer County Dive Rescue team. During that time, we had a chance to work on the executive board, and he was the guy that was training the fat rookies like myself, pushing us and helping me realize my full potential out there. Justin, thank you very much for joining us on our little show here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Gene.
You bet. So during your time there with the dive team, you were also with Dive Rescue International. So why don't you go ahead and just talk to us? Who is Dive Rescue International?
So I'm coming up on 17 years with the company myself, but the company's been around a lot longer than that. We've been in business since 1977. Dive Rescue International is a public safety diver-owned company, and what we do is we provide training and equipment for emergency responders to the aquatic environment. So ice, rivers, lakes, ponds, reservoirs in the ocean. We focus on dealing with the first responder clientele primarily, so law enforcement, firefighters, EMS, and military.
Nice. And specifically, I mean, in layman's terms, so to speak, you guys are the ones that are training the people that are coming out and saving our butt when we're in trouble. That piece there was always the part that added that credibility, which is why I've turned to you as the expert in these fields, anytime we're doing these PSAs out there. So right now, currently, what specifically do you do for Dive Rescue International?
So right now I'm the president and CEO. I've been in that role for about 5 years. And before that, I was their director of training programs. So I would coordinate training programs for a department that needed specific training for ice rescue or, underwater criminal investigation or whatever they're doing.
Nice. Good stuff. And beyond work, you yourself are an avid outdoorsman. Something you and I still need to do is go fishing together. Although we use different methods for sure, but and just so the viewers will throw a little bit of you're going to get some serious jealousy here. So you're from a place that is like a bucket list destination for most outdoorsmen out there. What was that like? Coming from Alaska, man. Holy crap, that's going to be gorgeous.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I was born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska. I left there just after high school and came down to CSU here in Fort Collins. But every day after school, I would walk home and ditch my books and grab my rod, and I'd go to the creek that ran through my neighbor's yard, Campbell Creek, and we had rainbows, dollies, red salmon, king salmon, and silver salmon there.
Whoa, Campbell Creek?
Campbell Creek.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, do you get a chance to ever go back there, or is it just a rarity now?
So my family left when I graduated high school, but I go back every other year or so. I was just there in September, spent 12 days on a fly-in moose and caribou hunt, do it yourself, just a buddy and myself for 2 weeks in the woods.
So fishing, you're a freakish spear fisherman. I mean, that much is certain. I've seen the videos there and watched that. Hunter, ice fishing. You ever partake in it?
Absolutely. You mentioned a bucket list. I still want to do some dark house spear fishing through the ice. I haven't had a chance to do that yet.
Okay, you got to help the dumb guy in the crowd. What is dark house spear? What is that?
That's the Michigan, Minnesota, that type of the part of the country,
Oh,
they
okay.
cut a big hole, they bring a decoy out, and they decoy in pike, and you spear them with a trident, basically like a caveman.
Wow, that is fantastic. Good stuff. Good stuff. So that is the ultimate thing leading into here. What we wanted to do is a little PSA with ice fishing, starting to gain ground now. It's picking up. We're starting to get some ice out here a little bit. And obviously different parts of the country have different considerations that they have, but with ice fishing itself starting to kick on, for what it's worth, those of us who don't ice fish, like myself, I'm from flip flops on the deck of my boat. Basically, we always tell when ice fishing starting to come out because the rods start getting smaller. We know it's getting cold there. It's amazing the strength on those ice rods. But that what we're talking about here is the ice safety. We like to engage in all the things outside, but as we've obviously seen firsthand, you more than me, keeping safety in mind, man, needs to always be there. The moment we get too arrogant and think it's not going to happen to me, that's when it does happen to you, and that's when bad things really occur. So wanted to talk about ice safety that we're talking about here with generalized, so to speak. What are some just good generalized tips for ice safety for folks that are looking to engage outside?
Well, are we talking specifically about ice fishing?
Yeah. Just, I mean, if you're going to be going out onto the ice at some point during the season here, what are like, just some generalities, if you will, that, or, specifically to that of ice fishing?
So I think one of the biggest issues with ice fishing in particular is ice fishing is kind of seen as a sport that's fueled by Busch Light and Fireball whiskey. And there's a lot of lackadaisical attitude in regards to it. Oh, well, there's someone else out on the ice. It's got to be safe for me. And what a lot of people don't realize is that ice forms at different thicknesses throughout a body of water. Initially in the fall and winter when it's cold, it forms first near the edges of the body of water, and then it covers the deeper parts of the lake or pond or whatever later in the season. So we won't get into the technical aspects of how ice is formed, but forms by the shore first and then out into the deeper parts. So if somebody's fishing 15 feet off the shore and 15 feet of water, they might have a lot of ice to be fishing on. But if you want to go out to this rock pile that I know is out there in 45 feet of water, the ice over that section of the lake might be thinner than it is at a different portion of the lake. So the varying thickness throughout the body of the water is something a lot of people don't take into account. And a lot of times people also don't realize what the other environmental conditions what influence they can have on the safety of the ice. So for example, if it's very windy and the wind is warmer than 32 degrees Fahrenheit, that wind is melting the ice.
Right.
If there's any movement under the ice, especially on rivers, that movement of the water creates different types of ice formation, which are less strong and less safe than, say, clear lake ice.
Right, current and so forth, which usually as anglers are always looking for current seams, different things like that. And even when it's slowed down, I mean, you're looking for transitions or changes and so forth on your topo map. So yeah, absolutely. Ice fishing in general, or I should say, ice fishing specifically. What would you say are some just good things for enthusiasts that want to get out there and do ice fishing, whether they be brand new or seasoned? What are some good tips, things for them to keep in mind?
Well, I ride a motorcycle too, Gene, and one of the things that we learned when I first started riding motorcycles was you dress for the slide and not the ride. And I think that's applicable to ice fishing as well. A lot of people will say, oh, it's a 70-degree day, I'm going to wear a t-shirt and my Carhartts, and I'm going to go out there and fish. But one of the things that I've noticed that you do on the tournament scene is you always wear a PFD, or a personal flotation device, a life jacket, as a lot of people would refer to it.
Yes, sir.
And you're not planning on going in the water, but if you end up in the water, it's one way to keep yourself safe. So there are a lot of very convenient types of PFDs for ice fishermen. One's the inflatable, which is the style I think that you use most often. That's a pretty unobtrusive thing that you can strap on to make sure that you're going to be safe if you do go into the water. The other thing is there are float coats, and Mustang Survival makes one that is a rated U.S. Coast Guard approved PFD or life jacket. And not only is it super warm, so you don't have to worry about wearing too many layers, because You just throw this thing on and you're warm all day, but it'll make you float. And
Nice.
so it's a lot easier to save a victim through the ice if they float than if they sink, because if they sink, it obviously is going to be an ice dive. That takes more time to get the rescuers out there and to locate the victim and get them back. So I think most of your viewers and listeners can attest to the fact that it's easier to breathe when your head's above the water.
Right. And one of the things that, even though it was a lifetime ago, one of the things that still resonated, last seen point. I mean, that is so critical for rescue operations. And this, to break for a small segue here before we go in, this is another part that I talk with some guys that when they're not in tournament, I know many that don't wear PFDs just because with tournament fishing, it's a mandate. We have to, if the big motor's on, you're in gear, PFD needs to be on. Some of them only do it for that rule purpose. As I explained to them when they ask me why I'm doing so, it's because I've worked on the other end of this. I understand this. And this is the one piece, especially with ice that comes in. Folks get this feeling that it's only affecting me, so it's my choice. And what I've tried to appeal back to them is, I'm sorry, I don't want to be argumentative, but no, it's not. Because there is a crew somewhere in that county somewhere that is going to be deployed, be it the fire department, be it a dive rescue team, whatever, that if you go in, something happens, people are going to be putting their lives at risk to find you. And that's the part that a lot of folks don't realize, unless you've been involved around that, is it's so much easier to find somebody in the event of bad or even, rescue situation when they're on top of the water, man. That is a huge deal. So, thinking outside the box a little bit kind of helps with that. So let's say worst case scenario, I'm out ice fishing. I do go in. I didn't judge the ice right. Something happens. What, where should my brain start going, man? What's the first thing I should be looking at doing if I go in the ice?
So the first thing that happens when you fall through the ice or when you fall into really cold water is what's called a gasp reflex. And if you've ever jumped off the boat and the water was colder than you expected or anything like that, you notice that either you're gasping, inhaling, or you're shouting an expletive. So the best advice, if you find yourself falling through, before you actually fall through, is make yourself bigger. Okay, we're talking surface area here. So if you're going to fall through, you can spread out your arms and legs, maybe grab something that will help you to disperse your weight across that ice. The best way to fall through the ice is to not fall through. So anything you can do to spread out your weight. And once you do that, that doesn't mean to just hop right back up and start standing on 2 feet, because your feet are this much surface area where your body is so much bigger if you're able to lay flat. And you can either crawl or even roll.
You talk about doing the big arms thing, basically just,
right,
spread eagle, so to speak. Yeah,
absolutely. And then you just sort of shimmy yourself away from that thinner ice, usually closer to shore. And you can roll using the entire long axis of your body to disperse your weight along, 6 feet of axis versus, the 12 inches of your shoes.
Right. Good stuff.
So beyond that, sorry, I'll expand.
Go ahead.
If you'll let me. You want to make sure you close your mouth. Some people have to pinch their nose and close their mouth in order to keep from gasping. You don't want to take any water in.
Right.
And then if you fall through, you want to minimize the amount of struggle that you have once you're through. So some of the factors that lead to survivability of a drowning victim, a person who's actually gone subsurface, is a reduction in the effort prior to their submersion. So you want to minimize your amount of struggle, because you also don't want to break any more ice than you have to. Right. Your arms are probably going to be wet. You want to get those arms up onto the ice and try and spread out the weight that you have there on the ice. Sometimes your gloves, your coat, things like that will freeze to the surface of the ice. If it's cold enough outside, that can help hold you in place if you do go unconscious. Because again, it's better to be unconscious with your mouth and nose out of the water than underwater.
Right.
And then you want to, like I said, you want to minimize your movement. You can bring your knees up to the bottom of the ice shelf to sort of hold you in place. That's similar to what the Coast Guard calls the heat escape lessening posture, or the HELP posture.
Oh, okay.
Which is going to slow the onset of hypothermia. All right, you're going to become hypothermic if you fall into water through the ice. But the slower you go into hypothermia, the easier it's going to be for you to maybe assist in a rescue or grab a throw bag or something that another bystander can help reach out to you. And it's going to improve your chances of survivability.
Nice.
Other things.
Yep.
We talked about equipment a little bit, but one of the other things we talked about PFDs, but one of the other things that ice fishermen can use is something like this, which is the Pick of Life. And that's a brand name. There's lots of different brands, but ice awls or ice picks. And what these are used for is you can see on the diagram on the back, there's a little spike inside. Okay, and that spike is used to help you to gain traction. You stick it into the ice, and it's kind of like climbing a pegboard in gym class. You can help slide yourself back up onto the ice and hopefully get yourself to shore where you can get rewarmed. So there's lots of different types of those. I'm not pushing one brand over another. Some people even just drill a hole in the handle of some Phillips head screwdrivers and drape those around their neck. But it's important that you have them on you. They don't do you any good if they're in your tackle box in a sled 4 feet behind you.
Right. I remember on our ice rescue suits, a lot of times we had them on the sleeves right there. We had a concealed patch piece there that we could actually bust them out. That way they would fit right to our hands quick and easy when we were out there moving around.
Absolutely. Other things, most ice fishermen, they've got an auger with them, right? So they have to gain access through the ice somehow. So they've got an auger. Some also will use a spud bar or some sort of pole to either break out the ice or things like that. If you find yourself falling through, if you got your hands on one of those, if you can lay it horizontally and again help to keep from breaking all the way through the ice, that's another tool that you can utilize to minimize your risk when you're falling through.
Right. And that's, I think, one of the biggest pieces that look, if you go through and you land into ice cold water, even as individuals that we used to do it on purpose for training purposes, it's gonna shock you. There's no doubt about it. But the key factor that we trained with as well is if you're mentally preparing yourself for these situations, it's a little bit more automatic for you to remember, wait a minute, I know I'm supposed to calm down right now and just, chill out, get myself righted here and figure out what's going on and get moving. If you don't think about this stuff, that's when you're hit, blindsided by it. And then you do freak out, so running it through mentally, seeing, when you get out there to that area. So if something does happen, where in the heck am I going, man? Am I going this way? Do I need to get my bearings about me? Just taking that, 2-3 minutes to run it through, I think is huge in a lot of cases mentally for folks. So let's say, or I guess I should say, was that on the list of if you go through, are you good there? Or did you have more?
So I think that as far as equipment and when you start going through, I think that's covering a majority of it. Another thing a lot of people don't think about is a whistle. And we use whistles in the rescue industry all the time, but it's a signaling device. And if you are messing around with your stuff and other ice fishermen are on the fish, if there's a bite, they're not paying any attention to you unless you're catching more fish than them, and then they're going to come crowd you. But realistically, if somebody starts blowing a whistle out on a frozen lake, there's a chance that you can get help faster. And so a whistle is another easy thing. You can attach it to the collar of your jacket or whatever else. But a signaling device is an important, easy, inexpensive tool that you can carry with you to help get help faster.
Heck yeah.
In addition to that, one of the things that is mentioned oftentimes when you're going out in the outdoors, but again, ice fishermen especially have sort of a lax attitude, and I'm guilty of this myself. Oh, it's a cold morning and I don't have anything to do. I'm going to go jig for some walleye. Well, let somebody know where you're going and let somebody know when you expect to be back. Now, fishermen are oftentimes pretty secretive about their locations. So tell somebody who doesn't care about fishing, like your wife,
exactly.
Or something else, but always make sure somebody knows where you're going and when you expect to be back. And that can help us to get resources to you faster in the event that you don't come home when you're supposed to.
That's sound. Yeah. That's always a good deal, and I think it's important too. Some of the viewers out there that are watching this right now or listening to this right now, however you're choosing to do so, this is, you're getting a perspective here from the other side, and so anything we say during this piece here, we're not passing judgment or anything along those lines. This is what it's like from the other side of this. In regards to the individuals that have to go out there and perform, these very difficult tasks, when bad things do occur. We prepare that they never do, But in that event, you're getting a chance to see from those other sides there. Just a couple little steps here and there, man, can do huge things to help out in that area. And that brings us to the next question here. So let's say it's not us. Let's say we're out there fishing, we're on them. We look over at our guy that's, our buddy that's not getting them, and he goes in. What are some do's, kind of, some sound advice there in that case? What should we be doing to make sure that we're not becoming part of the issue and being a second rescue involved here? But what can we do to help out in that case?
So the first thing is always call for help. If we need to get a dive team started or an ice rescue team started, the earlier you get them coming, the better chance of survivability for that victim. If you're with a buddy, say you and I finally go fishing together, we go ice fishing, we'll get one person on the call for help right away, and the next person is going to try and render aid. And what does that look like? It depends on your ice conditions, your knowledge, skill, ability, and equipment. So even in Cub Scouts, you learn around water, you reach, throw, row, go, right?
Yep.
So reach is as simple as I'm taking that spud bar or broom handle or whatever I have with me, laying flat on the ice and reaching that to the victim. Okay. I can also use a throw bag, which is basically just a rope stuffed in a bag. Chuck that out there. They get a hold of the rope, wrap it around their arm a little bit, because your fingers lose dexterity when you get cold.
Mm-hmm.
So if they wrap their arm into that rope a few times, it's easier for them to hang on, and you can potentially drag them out. So that's the reach and part of the throw. The other part of the throw is maybe just throw them something that floats. A lot of people have the thick cushions that go on top of a 5-gallon bucket, right?
Right.
Those float. Maybe you have an extra PFD laying around. Anything that floats that you can get to them, an inner tube, anything like that could help them to stay afloat.
Nice.
Row would include, if you've got a big sled that you dragged all your ice fishing gear out there in, if you've got a boat, a canoe, a raft, anything like that is going to float, you can utilize that either as a reach device, or you can get into that so that you're not actually getting in the water to help pull them out. And then the last resort, and this is something we recommend for trained first responders with good equipment, is the go. Every winter you'll see a dog went through the ice and the owner jumped out there and tried to get through the ice to get to the dog. Well, if your 80-pound lab is going to fall through the ice when they're 80 pounds spread out over 4 of their feet, we'll call you a svelte 180 pounds, is definitely going to go through as well. So the go option is the last resort. The only time you're going to want to do this is when there's no other options to get the person out. And typically what we're going to do is we're going to recommend the rescuer be tethered with a rope, and don't ever do this without having called for help first. But it's an absolute last resort. We mentioned I grew up in Alaska. Believe it or not, I used to be the skinny kid. So thanks for that. But the way that we tested to see if the ice was thick enough to play hockey on was they would tie a rope around my waist and I'd walk out there. And if I fell through, it wasn't safe enough. If I could jump up and down without falling through, then we'd play hockey on it.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that rope tied to me saved me a couple of times. But the fact is the reach and throw can affect a huge percentage of these rescues, especially when you're right there. If you're on the body of water, if you're on the lake with them, being able to throw a throw bag is a skill I think every adult should learn. It'll save lives on lakes, rivers, and on people that have gone through the ice. So if you're interested in learning how to use a throw bag, we offer that sort of training, but it's a very simple tool that can save lives. There's other devices you can use. A lot of people have jumper cables. Maybe one of those old metal stringers can extend your reach by 6 feet. Anything that you can do to stay on solid ice and help to get that victim up onto the ice. If nothing else, you want to secure that victim as best you can. Even if you can't get them out of the ice, you want to make sure they don't fall below the ice.
Right. And that's the two, when you talk about the call, it's 911 is what we're talking about here. Call 911 from the lake there, get emergency crews on the way. If you realize that something is going amiss here, because regardless, even if it takes you 10 minutes to get them out of the ice, there's a good chance of hypothermia that's already set in at that point. You want somebody to check them out and make sure things are going to be okay there. It's just not worth, messing around. And that reach, throw, row, go, that was, I remember that's, specifically from our training. I mean, that is exactly what the trained professionals are going to go through when they get there. They're going to run down that laundry list of what they can do to try to avoid, if at all possible, endangering a rescuer. So awesome stuff. Very, very cool. We've talked a few things here about, the PFDs, the ice augers, some throw bags. For what it's worth, also in my bass boat constantly is a throw bag. I've used to fish on the Mississippi River quite a bit in current, nothing like the current we have out here in Colorado, but still, current that is moving boats, it's moving people. So I always carry a throw bag on board there, even on lake situations, just because it's way easier to do that than try to reach down and grab somebody, and like you said, it is a skill. Work on it, YouTube it, you'll find it. Check out DRI's site. They'll give you tips as well. Do you have a good place that the average everyday Joe out there, if you will, could pick up or look at some of these items and have an opportunity to, put some of the stuff in their gear on their way out there?
So I mentioned that we do training and equipment, and so we have an online store. I know that you're working on your online store as well. Some of the tools and pieces of equipment we've mentioned we have available there. Other places, pretty much anywhere that you're going to buy your fishing equipment is going to have PFDs. They're going to have these ice hauls, and they're going to have throw bags. Any place that sells kayaks, canoes, stand-up paddle boards, anything like that. It doesn't have to be a specific, super duper fishing brand of any of these things. They're all simple tools, and that's the beauty of them, is you don't have to get a PhD in ice fishing in order to use these to save your life or somebody else's.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, listen, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for this. Hopefully, those of you watching here have gotten a few tips and tricks out of this. Like I said before, it's awesome to hear from the other side. Remember, it's not just you. It's it's a lot of folks out there. But above all, Justin, I can't thank you enough, man, for coming on this. We're young, we're new, we're a small little deal, but I know we're gaining ground in the veteran support side. It's moving at a much faster pace than what I thought. So this is super cool, and we can't thank you enough, man, for joining us on here.
Very cool, Gene. And I've got a couple of other things, if you'll bear with me. I know we're
absolutely
coming up on our time mark here, but most people that hunt and fish in Colorado have something that looks like this, right? Mm-hmm. It folds out, but I'm not going to give you all my address. But the cool part about these hunting and fishing licenses is they're 3.5 inches wide. Okay, from here to here. And if you think about, well, okay, what ice is safe for me to go on? Well, if there's a formula for clear lake ice. That's ice without bubbles and foam and anything else in it, but that nice clear ice you can see right through. If you have 3.5 inches of lake ice, that's safe for 1 or 2 people to ice fish on. Okay, if you're trying to bring out 4-wheelers and everything else, then obviously you're going to need more ice. But a good guideline is if your ice is thicker than your fishing license, you should be able to ice fish on it. Okay,
that's good stuff. Yeah.
Couple of other things I wanted to mention: pressure ridges. When the ice on a lake pushes up like this,
yep.
They're pretty cool. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, it's jump, or whatever. I want to go check it out. Keep in mind that the carrying capacity of that ice is only due to its buoyancy on the water. So the ice that's pushed up and not touching the water doesn't have the same carrying capacity of the ice that's flat and supported by the water. So if you can stand on the ice next to a pressure ridge, that doesn't necessarily mean you can stand on the ice on a pressure ridge.
Right.
Okay. And then the other thing is holes that are existing in the ice. Oftentimes they're from either a spring or some current, or from waterfowl. So ducks and geese, things like that, getting in and out of the water. It's important to be cautious there, because as those birds get out of the water, they start to build a ramp in the ice. They're bringing that warmer water up on the ice, and it starts melting the ice. And so typically that ice is angled down, and it's oftentimes wet. So that's often very slick. And as you get closer to one of those holes, it's really easy to step into something that is angled into the water. And that's a danger zone to be very cautious of. So don't get lazy, use your auger. Don't try and use the hole that the geese are using.
Right. Awesome stuff. Very, very, very good stuff. All right, man. Well, I think that probably brings us to the end of this thing again. And again, thank you, Justin, for joining us here. Folks, check out Dive Rescue International. .com. The website has got a ton of information out there. Support your local dive and rescue teams for sure. Make sure that they know you're out there. A lot of, depending in some areas, like I said, the sheriff's department will handle it. Some areas have dive teams themselves. Just the word dive alone should not be. That's not all they do. I know that during my time, ice rescue was my absolute favorite, just because of our increased chances of rescue in that case. As opposed to some of the other methods out there. But make sure you support those. A lot of them are nonprofits as well. So thanks, folks, for joining us here. And we're going to go ahead and throw this back to the other segments. Tight lines, be safe. And welcome back here, folks. Hopefully you picked out a couple pieces of information from that little PSA there on some just generalized good ice safety information in general. And again, thank you to Mr. Fox for taking time out of his busy schedule to stop by our little show and spend some time with us and share his knowledge on that. We're going to be doing some more PSAs throughout the course of all next season there. Our hope is to drop at least 4 more of them talking about different topics that are related to that. We'll have Mr. Fox come back and join us again during those sessions, and we'll see if there's any information you want. Remember, Dive Rescue, intl.com. You can go out there and grab that, or you can DM me, hit me up. I'll get you in contact with them. Any information you want from those guys. Okay, so that brings us to the conclusion here of the major content. Just a couple little notable shout outs, and we're going to wrap this thing up and send you guys off into the holiday season. Couple notables here, man. The store is about to go live at gcampbellfishing.com. We are literally today in the talks with Pro Sites Unlimited. We're wrapping up some details, getting things ready to fly. They're lining up everything, getting it ready. Could not be more excited. We are getting some amazing supporting vendors coming on board with us. Right now we have, of course, NACO tungsten weights that we are going to be inventorying and shipping directly from here to you as you order them and want them. You're not going to find better tungsten for that price out there. You're not going to find better prices, and period. And if you do at a legitimate stop, NACO will beat it, man. They're that confident in it. Number 2, we have Arsenal Customs is going to be coming on board with us. We're going to be offering customized jerseys specifically towards the fishing side of things. We do work with different teams and so forth around the local areas. I've been going to Arsenal for the last 3-4 seasons and love the jerseys, so they're agreeing to come on board with us. You can contact us here and get some of that information. Go over that. Also, Arsenal Fishing will be featuring some of their products on hand that we can work with there. Hopefully, we're going to get some things lined out with a few of our other sponsors in the line. But one of the 2 big ones that just came on board with us, Tackle HD. We are going to be a dealer for Tackle HD. We're going to have a limited supply piece there. But one awesome thing we're going to have is if we don't carry it on hand, we're going to have an affiliate link for you. So you can literally just click our link. It'll take you right to their website. You can go ahead and purchase right through them at the same price you'd buy through us. And get your stuff shipped to you and so forth, and we'll still get a small commission on that. So if you're interested in trying to find ways you can help us out, that's going to be a major portion for us, is going to be these affiliate links. That way we can offer a wider range of these product lines without killing our budget on inventory. And then most notable, we are going to have physical inventory on Reeler's Shield. This is a mineral-based sunscreen, broad spectrum, UPF 30. Sun protection here in Colorado is huge. Sun protection across the entire country is huge, but out here where we're at higher altitude, it becomes even more important. Dude, don't mess around with it. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're getting that stuff. The nice thing about this is it's super small. I use these products. That's why I'm carrying them. You'll see when we do our big promo on this thing. It's super easy to use. It's inexpensive. Lasts you forever. The freaking container floats if it falls out of your pocket, and it fits in your pocket super easy, so you can keep reapplying throughout the day. And protect your health, man. Protect your skin. We're out there for 10, 12 hours at a time. You need to take measures to protect yourself. So yeah, we're going to have all these guys are coming on board with us, and then the affiliate list is going to be huge, and that's going to be your best way that if you can't donate to the nonprofits or do through the sponsorship piece, or donate time to them, this is another great way you can support the causes with this, is ordering through our True Patriot store. Because you allow us then the small revenue we get from that, we apply that directly to our veteran support services with these nonprofits. So you can rest assured that stuff's going to an awesome cause there. So we'll get in more into that later, and we'll probably in the January edition we'll probably do a little walkthrough right here where we'll take you to the store. We'll walk you through, show you how simple it is and how easy it is, and we're just going to keep dropping updates on new vendors that are coming on board to help us in this mission. And so, yeah, there should be plenty of stuff there for you to be able to check out. With that being said, folks, I just want to go ahead and wish each and every one of you the merriest and happiest of holidays. Merry Christmas to those that celebrate it. Happy holidays. Hopefully people get a time to reflect this holiday season, and being thankful for the things that maybe we take for granted throughout. And hopefully spending time with family is a positive, good thing for all of you out there. And you get some much needed R&R. And that way we can get prepped and ready to launch for the 2022 season, which is going to be bananas. It's going to be awesome stuff. From the bottom of my heart, from my entire family, thank you to all of you guys that continue to watch the podcast, spreading the word about it, giving us the shares, the subscribes, the likes. It means the world to us. This is how we do this. This is how we build this thing. It's not going to happen overnight, and it takes a lot of people together. This is that team that we're all kicking in, doing things here, and hopefully you're picking something out of this stuff from here and there. As always, if you have ideas, suggestions, thoughts, want me to turn the camera off, whatever, throw it in the comments down there. I'd love to hear from you. As always, folks, thank you again for all your support, and tight lines, and be safe, and happy holidays.